You are listening to Polymatic.media, episode 105 for August 2023. Welcome to the Polymaticast. Hey, John. How's it going?
Pretty good. How about you?
I don't know. We were just talking. It wasn't a big therapy session. It was just a random thing. Um, yeah, I'm doing okay. Okay enough. I'm holding my breath. That's how I describe it in life. Money comes in, money goes out. That's
Yeah,
kind
I
of
just,
how it
I just
is.
had a 3,400 euro tax bill.
Ooh. Mine was, well, I took care of my tax bill.
No, we usually get taken care of the tax, but there was a mistake last year with the
Oh,
payments and stuff, and
got it. Yeah, yeah.
and
I,
suddenly you had
I,
to pay a lot more.
so it definitely increased for me, now owning a house but then also something else like that, from last year that I'm now sort of taking care of and, little here, little there, which is adds to that sort of money comes in and a lot of money goes out, right? And a little less is sitting around. So, and also switch of jobs, right? So we'll see how things go as time progresses. Hopefully, things will get a little bit more rebalanced again. So,
Speaking of
um,
rebalancing, have you recovered from Otakon yet?
I would say so. Yeah, it took me even last weekend. I wasn't like fully 100% right because I just So for me, I guess at this point, it doesn't seem like it, but Otakon was 2 weekends ago.
Mm-hmm.
And then we would have been on the we skipped a recording session time. We would have recorded normally last weekend.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and that would have been still me not recovered fully yet. My typical thing is Simon comes down from Toronto with his son, and then I take the two of them to Otakon. They both work at the convention. Um, and so the area of point there is his wife also comes down, but she basically gets a week off of no family, right, while she's in the U.S. And so she goes does touristy things and whatever she feels like for the during the time while they're at in basically in Washington. And then we sort of meet up, in the later half. And so Simon basically recoups for a day here, but we both sort of go right back into being away to then come Monday, we do an OG recording. And then what ends up happening is on that Tuesday, I sit there and I edit the OG recording, and then I go through all the footage and the material, and then I go unpack some bits to get hard drives and SD cards, and I consolidate. And he's there taking all the pictures he's taken and processing them and sorting them out, and you know, getting them submitted to the photo group team at Otakon and all that. And it's just like it's just sort of we go and we have some dinner or something like that. But like that Tuesday coming back still isn't really a real recovery day. And through the rest of the week, I go back to work, and it's still not like I have not had that decompression where I slept for like a whole day, you know.
I don't
So
think
it
sleeping for a whole day is probably not going to work for you, but
no, I can't do it anymore. I used to be able to just like go out like a light and sleep for 12 hours. I can't do that anymore. I'm so wired that my body's like 6 hours. I'll give you seven, but you got to get up. And it doesn't matter. It's like, but I'm exhausted and I need to get some sleep. Yeah, but I'm not going to let you heal. I'm wired to make you get up. Right. And so that's unfortunate, but that's like how my body functions now. So um, I was lucky I got a whopping 7 hours tonight. It's just what it is. So yeah, I'm not really. I am. I would say at this point I'm recovered enough.
yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah, it took me a while to get back to recover from the trip to Germany.
So
Look,
I
it
don't know
took
what it is in kilometers, but I I leave I have the app on my phone that just sort of records all the steps. So there was a thing with one of the guys. Yeah, I guess maybe we might have been in the other building, but he came up to me one day. I saw Kevin, and he's like, "So, how many steps do you have so far?" And it could have been like a Tuesday, right? This is like few people are from staff are at the conference that early, right? Could have been a Tuesday, could have been a Wednesday. Most people are arriving maybe Thursday or sometimes even Friday when the event is started, as staff goes. And so he says, "How many steps you got?" It's like, I was like, "I don't really record them. I don't know." And he's like, "Oh, I got, and it's a big number, right? Because he's been there for a moment." And so you fast forward a few years, and that has made its way through all of the staff. A lot of them all have these fitness apps that are running where they have their smartwatch or something, and they're tracking all their steps all the time. And now they sort of compare with each other. So this year, the corporate secretary, she's like, "All right, I had pins made up, right? So if you see me on this day, you put your name on a list. Then the next day you go see Alex, and she'll give her $5, and if you reach this amount of, then you get a pin, a 5K pin." And so it just sort of progressed itself through the staff. And so she met so many people this year because of them looking for her, finding her to get on the list to go do a thing. And so when I got home, I got to like 42 miles or something. I stopped watching it. Somewhere around before we just left, I did basically 50 miles inside of 5 days.
That seems like yeah.
Yeah, and I was walking around a lot, but I was also sitting. So like I wasn't, and surprisingly my feet weren't destroyed. So, you know, so it's a very physical thing for me.
How are you
Um,
measuring it?
it's really just the accelerometer that's in the phone, right? That's how I'm measuring it, letting it run through that. I mean, people are doing something similar. They measure it through their smartwatches. I don't have a smartwatch,
Hmm.
so just use the phone, right? And so it was with me most of the time, but it wasn't always with me. So, and that number starts at basically um, as soon as I got on site, you know. So yeah, yeah. I worked a lot. I got actual exercise.
Yay, good.
My body didn't like that.
It's good for you.
Yeah, it is. It's good for me. Yeah.
No Rona.
No, no. Other people I heard yes, but not me. No. I was around 40,000 people. I mean, I wasn't swimming in them or anything, right? But yeah, I was fine. Did not have a problem at all.
Hmm.
So I sort of stayed home for the last couple weeks. And I'll probably go in. I feel like I have to go in tomorrow. I have to go into the office, to work. But I haven't been in the office for basically 2 weeks now, so should be
Yeah.
safe. So
Yeah. Checking if you have anything before you go is probably a good idea. Do you still have those quick tests?
I do, and I did pull one out to do the test. I haven't done it yet. I'll probably do it tonight. And then I looked on the side of the box and it says it expires basically next month. So I have to go pick up some more to leave around in the house. But yeah, yeah. So I'll be fine. I haven't had any problems. I've never gotten it, or if I've never gotten it, it's never affected me. So um,
Yeah, me
yeah,
too.
but I want to make sure that I'm not a carrier, and that's the key part there.
Yeah, you're the not no symptoms, but still carry it everywhere.
I mean, I think we all are. For those who've never really gotten it, it would seem sort of dumb to assume that we weren't carriers.
Hmm.
I mean, it just seems illogical, right? People around you get it, but you don't get it. So either you are a carrier for it, and it just doesn't affect you, and then your immune system gets rid of it. Um, but it would just seem, I don't know. It just seems sort of illogical statistically that if you have never been affected by it, then we must be carriers.
So I remember a couple of years before the Rona started, I had a very, very, very intense uh, cold, like super intense. I couldn't stop coughing. I felt like shit. I was really like high fever and shit. And I think that might have been a something.
Right. I never had that problem. The thing that took me out for like literally 2 weeks was when the pollen peaked out here in the U.S. I think in May, totally just killed me. And you could correlate it, right? Pollen went up, and then as soon as it died down, um, it correlated with exactly as I started to feel better. Um, but in terms of COVID stuff, now I basically my natural habitat is I'm a hermit.
Mm.
In the house, go out when I need. That's basically the weekend. If I don't have to go in the office, I stay home. Right? It's just sort of my nature. Um, and it's also to go out, yeah, in a kind of to do anything you spend money, right? So I could shop, great, but um, you know, I could just also hold on to the money in case if something happens, you know. And so it's stuff like that where it's like, nope, hold on to the money because stuff will happen, right? Especially now that you're a homeowner, stuff will happen.
Mm-hmm.
So got to
Mm-hmm.
hold on, retain on to that. It's not as abundant as it used to be, right? Because you know, bills are more now.
Any drilling
Um,
neighbors?
no, the worst that happens here is the the kid next door gets rambunctious, and I can kind of hear them run up and down the stairs for 45 minutes, and then up on the third floor. Right, they also have a third floor. Um, Probably play and hang out and thump around, and like it sounds like they're wrestling or playing DDR badly or something, right? Like that's what I hear. Now, they're not playing DDR. That's not relevant anymore. No one's playing any of these dancing games. It's not a hot thing, and certainly not with like, a preteen or something like that. So, um, but I haven't heard that recently, so I don't know why. Maybe they got it out of their system. I have no idea. It could be a family member next door that is exercising, right? And they're just the thumping translates as like someone is, you know, running in place and being really obnoxious, right? I don't feel it, but I can kind of hear it at times. And we don't share a wall as much as there's two physical walls that are butt up against each other, right? They're just not separated, right? Because
Mm.
it's a townhouse. So in the last place, not only did I hear it and feel it, this would go on for 9 hours straight.
Well, it beats having a neighbor that is constantly drilling in their walls.
Mm-hmm. I had that
Like
too.
they haven't started up yet since like noon,
Yeah,
but like this morning they were like early
yeah.
start, just starts drilling,
And it's
and
funny
last
because
night until like 11:30, I'm like, what the hell are you doing?
we've had this conversation a lot before, or avoiding or shifting, right? The reason that we skipped last week was because they were in full force.
Oh yeah,
And
it was
it's just
much worse
like,
last week.
and I know that you're in an apartment building, so of course around you, you have basically eight sides that are going to be kicking you, right?
No,
So you have what? Do you have one
five,
to each side? Okay, and
five.
then you have you.
I just have
Okay,
above me and besides me.
are you on the first floor?
I'm on the lowest floor, but there's like a garage below me.
Got it. Okay, so you don't have three people underneath you. Okay, so you're okay. Got it. So only five, but it seems like all of them seem to be in action to be drilling.
Well, one has a new tenant. Oh, actually,
Okay.
they bought the apartment and
Okay.
they started redecorating it.
Okay.
After the last person redecorated it, so
Yeah.
now they're doing it again. They're doing drilling and shit. And then
Yeah.
there's somebody over that way, the other way, and also doing.
Same
So
thing.
there's lots of people that are either selling or buying new apartments in this building.
Mm-hmm.
So
A
some
lot of
people are
turnover.
redecorating because they're selling it, and some people are redecorating because they bought it,
Mm-hmm.
which is which sucks because as soon as the new person comes in, they redecorate. So just sell it as is.
Yeah, I mean that happens here in the U.S. What people do is they take an older property and then they'll
Fix it up.
renovate it, and
Mm-hmm.
then they'll
They'll
rent
knock
it.
out that wall between the kitchen and the living room.
What for me?
No,
Uh,
that's what they do in those. They knock out a wall to make it more, give it more space or something like that.
right, and then they put the wall back up,
Yep.
and then they take it back out. You know, it's really obnoxious. In this case, um, the one of the things that I liked about this is that they people finally realize, why don't we just not put extra walls up? Like, why are we doing that? Why don't we just make it a structurally sound box? Because when if you when I was looking at houses, like there's in this area, there are definitely houses that you can tell were made through the errors. And I don't mean errors and like ERRORS. I mean ERAS, errors,
Eras.
um, eras, eras to enunciate. So, and because this area has age on it, right? So there's ones that are revolutionary, historic, right? And then there's ones that were made in the 1800s and 1900s, and then 1920s and 1930s, 40s, 50s, and so forth. I myself have lived in houses that okay, so I lived with my father when I lived in this area. That house was made, I think, in the 30s or 40s, and it was a specially designed house. It's what they called a summer house. It was designed to always be cool inside. So during the wintertime, it'd still be cooler than usual, but during the summertime, which was the peak time that people would come live in their summer house, it would be cooler than it would be if you lived in your place in the city. So people of certain wealth would buy houses not too far out of the city into these summer houses, and they live out here for during the summertime. And so, as a teenager, I grew up in a place like that, and that house was made in somewhere in the 30s or 40s or whatever it was. Um, and then when I moved out here as sort of an adult, a house that was built in the 50s. And then when I moved again, it was some of the houses built like basically late 80s. So, you can kind of tell all the different layouts and all the different engineering styles and what they used to do. So, houses that were built down near the beaches. Uh, Here in the East Coast of the U.S., we call them the shore. It's more of a northern thing. We call it the shore, but that here, like the Jersey Shore, that means the beach. Um, and you look at houses that were built for, um, you know, like Avalon and stuff like that. Those houses are reasonably large, and the first floor is mostly kind of reasonably small kitchen, enough to be functional, but big dining room areas and living room areas where it's very open and the space is meant to be shared. It's meant for everyone to exist. But then when you go to the kitchen, it's kind of small. When you go to your bedroom, it's super small. It's enough for a single bed or, mom and dad and, your grandparents or whatever it is. It's just enough to put a bed and a bureau in there. And houses were built a certain way here in the US and even in this area. If I was to go towards Bryn Mawr or something like that, those houses are built in the 30s and the 20s and 30s, and they're built that same way to be meant to be family houses, by comparison. And then over the course of time, you get this sort of obnoxious different style of houses. And so when I'm looking around, they're always
The
trying to take a
McMansions.
single space and divide it into 9 rooms. Why? Right? I'd rather have a larger open space.
Mm.
and also reasonably sized bedrooms, right? And so we're finally in this era now where they're like, bedrooms will be normal, downstairs will be super open, and then what you do on any other floors in the basement will be super open. We're not going to
Mm.
compartmentalize them into like 9 isolation rooms.
You can add your own wall.
You
Do it
can if
yourself.
you want. Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah. So anyhow, that's my whole diatribe. But it was just like when I was looking for houses that were built in the 70s and the 80s and the 90s, they were all terrible. It's like, I want to knock out that wall and take that thing out. Oh, that's structural. That sucks. Right. And it's just when they design these things, the style was to make 4 bedrooms in a much smaller space when it would be much better if it had 2 bedrooms. You
How
know,
do we get on this? Oh wait,
I did. I got on this.
drilling neighbors.
Yeah, drilling neighbors and bad designs on houses.
Yeah,
Yeah,
they need some holes drilled in their skull. They're just so super annoying.
yeah. Anyhow,
Yeah. Okay.
all right.
Um.
2 rants so far from Alan. There you go. There's the count. Ding, ding.
So do you want to go over Otakon, or if you talked about Otakon enough?
Um, I mean, it was good. Most of my sort of Otakon experience is going to be behind the scenes from me working on the film documentary. Well, the spread of
Were
time
you
when
able to check anything out from the con itself? Like besides all the behind the scenes back rooms type deals.
if I did, it would have been because I was following and documenting somebody.
Mm.
I was in the makerspace again, where I filmed some people doing gunpla, kit making kits and stuff like that, learning how to do that. Was in the makerspace and watching people make various little pieces for their cosplay and stuff like that, or for friends. So interesting stuff like that. But no, really, I didn't catch any of the panels or anything of real major interest that an attendee would catch. If I was in, I did catch a little bit of Iron Editor because I was filming, it was documenting it
Mm.
as it was happening. So, but for the purpose of that, right, I caught a little of opening ceremonies because I was there, but I was mostly behind the scenes. Closing ceremonies because I was there. Really trying to film the t-shirt gun, t-shirt cannons. Not really a gun. It's like a big CO2 tank or something is attached to it, and it, you know, pressurizes into a tube, and it helps you fire your t-shirts so into the crowd.
The t-shirt Gatling gun.
Yeah. So and I let you see some of the footage. The other one is also, it's pretty wild to see how far that goes into the crowd. That room probably only held I don't know, 1,000+ people or something. It was big, but it's not that big. Yeah.
Looked like one of the overflow rooms from Google I/O
No,
in size.
yeah, sure, right, but also that building, whatever that building, what was it? Started with an M.
Moscone.
Moscone. Yeah, so what they did is they just sort of, their first floor is like where they would normally have did they have stuff on the first floor?
Yep.
Okay. So they are like a big open space, and then what they do is they have air walls put up, and that's how they make rooms. And that's how the Moscone Center is. And then the major big space up top they left open for us when we were at Google I/O, and that's where the keynotes and stuff would happen.
Yeah,
Um,
but there was the keynotes and there were rooms around it, right?
right.
So and during the and then the bottom floor is when the breakfast area and the after party stuff was, and
Mm-hmm.
on the first floor is just all session rooms.
Right. So the building that the Washington E. Walter E. Washington Convention Center, or something like that. We call it the WEWAC because that's just what the, the letters spell to us when we look at it. So it has a lot of session rooms, a lot of places for big panels where they can hold hundreds of people. They definitely have big rooms that can hold thousands of people in them, and it's carpeted and you can walk around. There's lots of big open space. And then on the other side is where Otakon puts a lot of its functional places, puts panel rooms and workshops over there as well. But that's like the side rooms that are big for enterprise, for registration and photo suite. And then there's a lot of secure rooms for myself, from like my interview room and where I keep my equipment and stuff like that. But they do have those big Moscone, level, like big open spaces like the Moscone Center has. I would say the video gaming hall is open like that. We don't compartmentalize it at all. There's a lot of arcade machines and a lot of consoles and stuff like that, and then a big open area for people who want to do tabletop gaming.
Hmm.
And so basically, the place where we had the keynote, right? Imagine that size room, having all that the video gaming hall,
Hmm.
and that's like the upstairs part of Otakon's, the building that they're in. Um, yeah, and then there's deep, like a basement level that's like where the artist alley and the um, ex I can't say it.
Exhibition.
Yeah, hall and the artist alley area and stuff like that, and autographs and stuff like that.
Hmm.
Um, and those things also have sort of side areas because there's concessions there too. So for people who are down there and want to get a bite to eat while they're down there, they can do that too. So.
Yeah, I was looking at maybe going to one of those Dutch anime conventions this weekend,
Mm-hmm.
but yeah, it turned out there wasn't much interesting there. It's like, yeah, not great. I know there was one in Vienna, but I heard that the power uh, went out.
Oh, really?
I think like a couple of times because of a food stand.
A food stand?
Yeah, cut the power.
Wow.
Wow,
Why?
I don't
It
know.
killed the power.
Yep.
All right. I don't know. I don't know what kind of food you would be. I don't know what you'd be making that would need that much kind of voltage. So.
Well, these like the food stands are not going to use gas. They're going to use electricity
Okay.
because you cannot have like a gas burner inside of a building. Maybe in America, not here.
I don't know. I don't know what the ruling is on that. For the concession stands that are part of the convention center, the conference center, yeah, I'm sure they have mini kitchens, right? And I'm sure that they're making fries and frying stuff, and maybe they're electric, maybe they're gas. I don't know, but the building is outfitted for that kind of infrastructure, right?
Yeah.
So for those cases, yes. But if you're in a big open space where it's like a random vendor, yeah, I guess I have to agree with you. You wouldn't. It makes sense not to be having propane based things that can massively explode in an open space with a lot of people around. Yeah, it's probably a bad idea.
Yep. Okay. Do you want to talk a little bit about your plan to make a band setup? One man
No,
band
but
setup.
you say that, and there was at least one person who was walking around taking pictures of cosplay. And yes, had totally. You think it'd be them cosplaying, but no, they had the camera with a jig and a harness on them, and they have big soft boxes when they do the flash. And I didn't take a picture of the person, of course, but you'd see this guy walking around a lot, and he literally looked like. He got in his hotel room, he leaned down on his bed and he snapped into a suit, and that's what he would walk around with. And it was really just him carrying weight, but it was all his gear was there, and he just flashing away, getting cosplay pictures up on the skywalk. So there's definitely an individual who was doing that. In my case, I did put together a bit of a ad hoc portable kit. Um, I brought less stuff with me this year because I noticed I didn't need all my extra backups for things. I just kind of didn't need them. So I didn't bring the C stands because these things are a pain in the butt to put in the car and carry and lug from the hotel to like a mile over to my secure. It's just a pain, and also makes it less comfortable when multiple people are in your car stuffed in, where you've basically packed in your whole trunk and take out the fourth seat and
Yeah.
full of stuff. So
Makes it
I
hard to
made,
get out with the C stand up your ass.
yeah, and it's just, so I made some improvements, and I brought a lot of less, I just brought less stuff. And
Mm.
that is also based on doing this more than a few times at this point, and knowing that. So that was an improvement, and there's a little bit of iteration I need to do, to even make that experience even better, and also have a little less stuff. If I can reduce by 10%, that's still an improvement.
Mm.
Um, and so I now know what that is, and I have more on that. But I have, for my old laptop, which I still use because I haven't replaced the thing. My sort of compromise was I bought a eGPU, a 2070, and so it comes with this little carrying bag. And so of course I carried that, in its bag as part of all the stuff I was carrying, so I could look at some footage as I'm carrying stuff across, and just in case I need to preview something. And so I had the eGPU connected, my laptop in the room and all that stuff. So I had the use of the bag. So I took what was my backup recorder, field recorder. I made my primary recorder, and I used it for the interview site, and I used it when I was off and about with when I wired people up with the labs. So I stuck my H6 in that little bag, and it was enough for me to put a couple power banks in there and a bunch of cables and make the little analog cables and stuff, and then put in the lavs in there. And so I did add this little field recorder bag that was enough for me to outfit so that was my one man band thing. That plus my phone plus the gimbal that I could easily hold. And when something was happening, I'd get the gimbal, I'd get it calibrated very fast, and then I'd pull out, and then I'd say, all right, Mike, and then, the labs record locally, but in case they don't, I have the transmitted backup to the field recorder. And so I had this was my one little man band thing. So now I know that a couple of the improvements is I need to pick up a field recorder bag, right? That will allow me to kind of house, maybe I put my F4 in there instead of the H6, though the H6 kind of worked out. Um, you know,
Can you charge power the F4 off USB?
so I don't know about the F4, but I know I can on the H6.
Hmm.
And it did. It worked great. And I have this thing worked great too, right? I have this big Char Geek.
Yeah.
This is 130 watt that I bought, but that's great. I was able to power the gimbal, do fast charging on my phone if I needed to charge it up as I was walking about, when it was out of the gimbal. And then it also allowed me to power the H6. And I needed to because I didn't have any, I have them here, but I didn't realize the batteries were dead inside that thing. It doesn't have rechargeable. It takes double A's. And so, of course, one of the things is, I won't need extra batteries. I brought all the batteries I needed. And of course, I needed these batteries. But I could power the thing. And because I could power the thing through USB, it was perfect.
Hmm.
Right? So it worked out for me.
But that's micro USB, right?
In that case, yeah, it's micro USB. But I had the cable because I went and I took my carry boxes that I put all the cables, and I sorted through, and I brought enough of each type, and it turns out that I had what I needed on me. So it was great.
I like the mini USB. It's kind of strong compared to the micro USB. The micro USB is
Micro
very easy to
USB,
break.
yeah, you know you're gonna snap it. In this case, the mini, right? But the mini was the old one.
Mm-hmm.
And the fact that Zoom has already reinvented the H6, right? They have like a new same format, but they also have the H6N, which is meant to be mounted underneath camera rigs. And of course, it's also perfect to be a field recorder bag device. And of course, I looked at the thing, And I'm like, it can take MP batteries. I could use that. I just immediately, my brain's like, I need to find a budget of $900 to buy that thing. Um, right? Because it's also a modern version of the thing that I already like, but it's a little bit more set up for the things that I need today.
Hmm.
So it's in my mind. I'm not, $1,000, spare $1,000 is not coming this year. And if it comes next year, I have that $1,000 needs to go towards other things. So it's not a thing I'm going to get right away. And by that time, they'll reinvent it again, and but that seems to be the right device for me in the future to buy. So
Yeah. Okay. Well, I don't really have anything because it's been mostly me working like crazy in the last couple of weeks. So, last couple of months actually.
yeah,
So I don't really have anything interesting to talk about. I have some interesting stuff to talk about, but I can't really talk about it.
yeah, I can't talk about it. It's our therapy session afterwards. Um, so yeah, I mean, most of my Otakon experience was really just doing a lot of documentary stuff, and now people recognize the president of the company because I followed him around. I was following him around, and Otakon is sort of split into there's the convention event, and there's like the con chair, and then in this very early history, they created the corporation that deals with the finances and the contracts and all that stuff. And so what ends up happening is previous con chairs sometimes go become the president, and they swap around, or they move in and out of leadership, or they go farther down where they have no leadership responsibilities, and then they get called back into be a con chair or something like that. And so that's kind of what happens throughout the organization. But this year, Brian wasn't con chair; he was the president of the corporation. So he was still sort of doing con chair and president of the corporation things, and I was following him around. Um, and there was a larger point in me telling you that. So I was getting a lot of footage, and this is now giving me sort of shape of me being able to put some scratch narration on things and start cutting something together that like shows you the behind the scenes of the event. So that's kind of the stuff that I was doing most of the time. Is I alone was running around, you know, making things happen for me to get footage and then do a couple interviews, and that's kind of what I was doing. And then I came back and I was recovering from that experience and gathering that footage, gigs and gigs of footage. And then recently, I cracked open some old hard drives, like not the physical hard drives, like the external cases and stuff like that, or things I pulled out of systems that I left in a box. So that's it. That's all I've been doing. I've just been doing very non-interesting things to the
Consolidating
rest of the
data.
world. Yeah, and that's exactly what it was. And I found a whole bunch of stuff that I was like, oh yeah, here's some older OG backups, and I made backups last night. Took hours to do it off a drive that was barely wanted to run, and I got two more drives to crack open, and to make that work was really janky.
If you want to build a good tool, this is a tip. Make a tool that allows you to make find duplicates, like find non-duplicate files on disks that are like for old disks. You just hook up the disk and it automatically rips that disk to a new drive
Oh,
and
and it just takes
organizes
yeah
stuff for you.
yeah. I I knew what the stuff that I backed up on these things were, right? And some of these were obviously clearly pulled out of old systems. And I had a couple boxes that I ditched out that I basically cleared out. And I was moving. I did not have the patience to go into these things. And like, you needed angle grinders to get into these things to pull these drives out. And I'm like, I'm not going to do that. I have no patience. And these things were badly built cases in their time, and they got in and they're there, and I'm not going to be tearing this thing apart. So there's some old data stuff that's probably not relevant that I probably cleared out, wiped out those boxes when they died anyways. So I have some risk out there, but the rest of them have been sitting in a box for, decades. And so that's what I was cracking into and looking at. And I found some meaningful stuff. I didn't find anything of the past that I expected, but in my case, if I put it on those drives, those were the backups, right? There isn't like duplicates. It's like I can look at it and go, yeah, don't carry over. I don't already have that locally, that kind of stuff. So I did a bunch of that last night, and that's all I've been doing for the last 2 weeks. It's just recovery and consolidation of stuff.
You need a NAS.
Yeah, you and everyone else keep saying the same thing. It's just a money thing. I would have bought it already. I've already set up the home lab. If I would have had those side projects if money was not the issue. So otherwise, I waste my time doing other things. So, yeah.
Okay. Do you want to go over the fun stuff?
Yeah, let's go over the fun stuff. We don't need to go in a whole thing, I guess. Okay. It's going to start off with you.
Yeah. Shallow ecosystem tank, Polymatic link /1BB. It's like a fish tank, but like lower and more plants.
It's clear this person does this. He has multiple of them.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah.
Okay, Week Alone in the Metaverse, Polymatic link /1BC. This guy was really snarky about it, but like, I think it's probably very close to the real metaverse experience at the moment.
Yeah, I mean it's nothing, right? And I remember in the 90s people are like all about VR is going to be the future. Well, here we are literally 30 years later, 20 years later.
Well, this is Facebook's metaverse.
Right, but I'm just saying but it's the same thing, right? When in the 90s everyone's like VR is going to be the future, and then 25 years later it's still nothing. It's like lack of nothing. Second Life was the most of the metaverse experience that you're going to get, and that only lasted a few years.
Well, there's VR chat, which is actually very, very popular. But
is it really?
Yeah, but like metaverse is like that's Facebook's thing, and it's just garbage.
Yeah.
Anyway, Polymatic link /1BC for that. Repairing a voltage standard from 1975. This is Marco Reps again. Polymatic link /1BE for that. Okay, so AirTag card, Polymatic link /1BE. Somebody who creates a flat AirTag out of an AirTag and just 3D prints a thing around it. It's an interesting concept. It's much better than the thing I have in my wallet at the moment. I have one of those flat wallets and then an AirTag in it, which makes it a not flat wallet.
I mean, I guess Apple could do that, right?
The
thing about this is what I heard is that because you can't replace those batteries without destroying the AirTag. They're fairly inexpensive. They're $40 an AirTag, which is,
I think they're like 25 euros a piece.
Yeah, I heard someone I heard a Canadian refer to it as $40, so it could be $40 Canadian for all I know. I don't know. I don't have AirTags.
Oh no, $40. Yes, correct.
But I mean, it's not that they're not usable. It's just you got to replace the battery, right? But you have to.
I did recently. It's
so if you crack it open, you destroy the casing of it, and you have a 3D printed thing. You could turn it into an air card. That would be interesting and neat. Replace the battery too, but you have to get your soldering iron out, basically.
Yeah, I don't want to bother with it. Anyway, so somebody's about to lose a finger. I found out what this was. Polymatic link /1BF. That is, I did a thing with playing with mud crabs. So Polymatic link /1BF. Can a mud crab take off your finger?
Yes. The answer is yes.
Okay, and then there's this old toe clamps. Polymatic link /1BG for that one. That's this old Tony, of course. Breaking Tears of the Kingdom speed records, Polymatic link slash 1BH. This is where somebody tries to build a launching machine and launch themselves into space with the instead of like one of the
Yeah.
Koroks.
All right, I guess my
Okay.
links, we're going down the line here. Where's Hollywood's fake money made? Oh, okay, I got two of them together. So this is another Earl Press Hayes video. And then that guy Mike who runs does his channel, his thing is Props to History. He's a prop maker, professional one as well. And they've been letting him kind of go around their facility and let them do a series on, like, kind of their impact, their history with movie history and fake money and stuff like that. I always find his videos about Earl Press Hayes interesting. Polymatic.link slash 1BI. And then he connected up with Adam Savage, and Adam Savage was also geeking out doing some videos. Um,
Yeah, I think I saw a video of them
from
from
Tested, yeah.
Tested a while
And so
back.
that's probably one of these Polymatic dot link slash 1BJ. Okay, moving on.
Okay.
Veritasium did a thing about IQ. So years ago, I never, like, as a kid, I never did an IQ test, but as like in my 20s or something, I was a little curious. So I took one, and so I have a general idea of what I didn't trust it, so I took another one, and so yeah, I have above average. So that's interesting. That explains me pretty well. But Veritasium kind of goes through it, and because he has sort of the same doubts, like he knows he's roughly smart, but he doesn't know that he's like genius level or anything. And so he went through an effort to talk about IQ. What does it mean? What does it mean today? Not like when you were a kid. Polymatic.link slash 1BK. And then future of movies explained. I for the life of me can't remember when I did you watch this? Do you know what this is?
I think this was with Marquez Brownlee.
Okay. Oh right, him and Chloe Abrams did a thing. They were looking at, this is all about like the technology they did in the Mandalorian and stuff like that, where they have the screen set, the virtual screen sets, which
The
right,
the
which
the volume.
isn't, these are massively high dense LED panels that are behind them, and so these are sort of sound stages with this technology instead of just green screen everywhere. Not saying that isn't still used, but anyhow, polymatic.link slash 1B L or one. That looks like an L. It is an L. Okay.
It is.
And
Yes.
then going down the line and finishing it up, the roasted. Okay, coffee roasting explains. This guy James Hoffman loves his coffee, and this is a case where he really gets into his coffee, and um, he would be the Gerald Undone of coffee. And Gerald Dunn kind of goes down and it really explores optics on cameras and talks about details at spec. Well, James Hoffman also does things like that with coffee. He talks about the different coffees, the ways to cook them, the different kinds of beans, elevations. He really gets into the detail of that. But in this case, he's explaining roasting. And what does it mean? And so that would be polymatic.link slash 1BM. And then
I think I've seen him with Tom
it's
Scott.
possible. Yeah. Yeah. He goes into details and stuff. And then bands that I've been listening to lately that I discovered, I don't know, probably within the last time since we recorded an episode. There's a new band called Fizz. It has a couple people that I really like as artists. And them and a couple of their friends got together and they started a new band. Close One is the name of the song. The band is called Fizz. Polymatic.link slash 1BN. And then as I was doing, Spotify finally hit some recommendations for me that were good, and I found one that I really liked. This is called The Japanese House. This is one of their songs, Polymatic.link/1BO. The song that sort of caught my attention is called Touch Myself. It's not so much about it's just the song. I like the song. Uh,
Sure.
and then there's another one. I feel like I've listened to her in the past, but now I'm kind of following her. Rainbow Frog Biscuits with the song Help Me, Polymatic.link/1BP. That's it. That's all I had.
Okay. I think we're done.
Are we?
Yeah, I think normally we would skip one of these months, right? Normally we would skip
Right, or
July or
something.
August.
Yeah, life gets at us.
So we do
You know,
11 episodes. Yeah. In summer, it's always a
it's
bad
always
time.
something. Like July was crushing me. I usually I try to hang out, like meet up and have lunch with a friend once a month, and then I was like, dude, can't meet up at all in July. Just busy every which way. And it's like, we'll move it to August. And then I realized, oh, I'm already halfway through August and I haven't synced up with him. I was like, oh, when are we getting lunch? And like, my brain's already like, not August. I just sort of I need a Saturday where like nobody and nothing is required of me. You know, of course, I can't
Yeah.
say that out loud too much because other people's ears perked up. They're like, Alan, I'm going to need you next Saturday. I have to create reasons that you are required for me to usurp all of your Saturday.
Free
Yeah,
work.
yeah. It's the only time I have to myself.
Sounds like it.
So, yeah.
And then there's a Sunday being slurped up by
Yeah,
Polymatic.
and also OG. That's always a regular thing.
Yeah,
So
yeah. Yeah, but there's some time between us
yes, and
recording
that
and
this
OG
OG is
recording.
every
So
week.
yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah. But also between our recording and the OG recording, there's like at least another like
Yeah, a
six,
few
8
hours.
hours. So
Yeah,
I
we're
think we're
good.
good.
Good time.
Okay. So Alan, you can find at Polymatic.
Yeah, but I might not be over there anymore. I'm de-emphasizing my less time over on Twitter or X or whatever what you want to call it.
We need to make you a link tree.
Yeah,
so
but
you
I
can,
don't. I'm also really. I'm not on threads. I'm gonna call it Freds.
Mhm.
I'm really not too much on Mastodon. I don't really contribute. If I do anything at Lurker, I'm just sort of looking at other people, and I do it in very minor places, right? The time that I spend any kind of effort or energy is mostly on Discord and on servers that is not on your list, and I would prefer them not to be on your list, not because there's anything to hide. It's just because it's a private space. But you can always go and reach me on the OG, Discord server. So
Okay. Anyway, you can find Alan at Polymatic link/Alan, and if his links change, we'll just link it there. We'll send him to send you somewhere else instead of your Twitter. You can find me at Polymatic link/John, or for feedback, you can reach out at podcast@Polymatic.media. Our Twitter is the Polymatic for now, until there's no more Twitter, until it's X. Sounds like a bad plan. Our website is Polymatic.media, and I hope you tune in next time.